All right, let's have some fun. It's the Bite Me podcast right here, wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, wherever it is, you can subscribe. And of course, we're going to get to some news. Life comes at you fast, and it came at us fast last week. I want to dig in on that again because there is some news that we really didn't talk about last week, other than on the morning show. But just for the particulars here, Captain Caleb McCumber is with us. Captain Dean Thomas is with us, sporting that sweet Bite Me Fishing hat that you can get at ogsauce.com. Captain Scott Null is here. We were kind of telling some Glory Days stories as we're getting ready for the show here. These are the glory days, baby. Well, actually, maybe not, but we've been having some fun out on the water. You guys, of course, can join us on the Bite Me group page on Facebook. Ask us questions, bring in topics, and we'll mix it up. It's a great community. If you haven't joined, almost pushing 12,000 members, which is really mind blowing and just blows me away. But let's get into it here with no further ado, as they like to say. And this is a wild one because I said life comes at you fast. It came at us fast last week. We couldn't even really talk about it, except we did do the first segment on Thursday on the Bite Me Fishing Show on Sports Radio 610 and Odyssey, and did something of a tribute to Captain Mickey because we love him so much. But I kind of want to get into, for those that are just listening now, I kind of want to get into what listeners can expect, because a lot of people are joining us here that maybe haven't been real familiar with the podcast, and certainly we appreciate that and hope you listen. These guys are fantastic. We'll get into that, but I want to start and just like what to expect, because anytime there's a change, it's going to be different. It's going to be whether you think it's better or worse or about the same, it's going to be different. One thing I want to say here and then toss it around to the guys, because it's important. It's an honor to be on the radio now, but also to still be doing this podcast, which is always important to us and has blown up to incredible proportions. I like to say that this happened because it's a testament to our community. Now, it happened on that end with no control that we had. And then, of course, approached about doing the show here. I mentioned it to the boys. And I'm just going to say, I think it's a testament to the community. I think it's a testament to our listeners that are a huge part of our content. As I mentioned, they bring the questions and the topics. Everything we do is with listeners in mind. No one does it, just because it's different doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just different. But I just want to kind of explain that and then toss it to the boys. I will say that as we, are kind of getting our feet wet, and we hit the ground running on this because it happened so fast, our cachet of guests, see what I did there, Dean? I used the word cachet. Our cachet of guests.
I was stuck on ado.
Ado. With no further ado.
I mean, what kind of word is ado?
It's a good word. It's a good word. So I started reaching out, and people were reaching out to me about some of, joining us here, because it's Captain Scott, it's Captain Dean, it's Captain Caleb. Next week, we're going to have Captain Pat Gardner joining us. We're going to have, I stopped counting at about 32, 33 people, from industry leaders, rod makers, reel makers, guides from all over the coast. Shout out to the boys here for sending me a lot of the names that we're going to be using. You're going to have fun, man. You're going to have fun. It's going to be very informative. It's going to be topic driven. I've always said what we do here is to help people catch fish and learn a little bit more about where we are, and in terms of the Gulf Coast. And with that, I kind of want to just send it to you guys from there, because this was a flurry of activity last week that we really couldn't talk about too much because we were just getting our feet wet. But Dean, I want to start with you, just kind of setting the table on what our listeners can expect and what happened, from your perspective.
Well, just on the subject of change, just in general, when something that you've been used to for a while comes at you kind of abruptly, it's a shock at first. I mean, and it was definitely a shock to a big part of the fishing community, that Mickey's reign did not end. It's just going elsewhere. It's just going to have a different avenue. But, if you hang around long enough, you're going to endure change in your life. And so, hopefully people do see in the long run that it's for the better, or, at least as good. I don't want to claim we're any better than anybody else. I'll let the people decide what they want to listen to. But it was just, I get the effect of shock to the world, the fishing community, that when that went away, and then there's somebody taking the place.
We were shocked. And that's not BS, man. Scott, when we talked about this, we're like, wow. That was the first word out of all of our mouths. But at the same time, and I want to brag on you guys, and just for those who may not, know or just listening for the first time, Dean is down in Iran. I did this earlier, but I want to do it again. I did it last week. Down in Aransas Pass, been everywhere, fished everywhere, tournaments, kayaks, etc. I just love Dean to death. He sounds like a fishing guide. He talks like a fishing guide. He sounds like a fishing guide, and he knows his stuff like a fishing guide. Scott, clearly, I always use the word sage. That's the one that always pops to mind. Just knows everything, does the research, etc., and just an incredible fisherman, incredible guide. Caleb, just a complete admiration for what you do and how you have taken fishing to another level in terms of accessibility. Whether it's some of the videos and YouTube and podcasts that you do, and Angler U, etc. So I just wanted to kind of mention that for those joining us here on the podcast that are maybe new to it. But Scott, again, we need to address this and just talk about what happened and what to expect.
Well, it is a big change. That show's been on forever. I've listened to it ever since it started. Hell, I was listening to it when it was Wayne Vinton, when he was doing it, and when Bob Stevenson was doing it before him. So, yeah, I was a long time listener and friends with Mickey. Talked to Mickey all the time. Back in the day, not so much over the last few years, but just after moving down here, I'm not up there in that Galveston area so much anymore. But I knew there was going to be some blowback. Anytime you go to replace a legend, it's difficult. People are going to get upset about it, but hopefully things will settle down here, and we'll just slide right on through, and everybody will get used to us. A whole lot of comments about our style being substantially different. Some negative, some positive, some negative. They were talking about clowns. I'm thinking they're talking about Caleb and Dean.
When they were talking about a bunch of smart ass answers, they were talking about me and Dean.
Yeah.
They're well thought out, smart ass answers, though. I think.
So Caleb, one thing that I always tell people, you're not just going to learn something, you're going to laugh and you're going to have fun. But just your perspective, just throw it out there as we start here on the show.
Yeah, my perspective is everybody take a deep breath. Like everybody said, change is shocking, but I've been through a few changes that didn't work out for the better at some point. So everybody just take a deep breath and chill out. We're not here to have a contest with anyone. It just so happened to be what happened there. As far as what to expect, like Scott, I was reading the comments on there, and a lot of them are written by people I know, and I'm not taking offense to any of them. Yeah, there are some edgy answers put in, and there is some sitting around and telling stories, but there's only 7 years, 52 weeks a year. There's only, if we sat here and did nothing but talk about the best lure, we would have run out of stuff a long time ago. Yeah. And we probably ran out of stories, but the new listeners haven't heard them, so we'll keep telling them.
And the thing that I am very adamant about, as you guys know, is keeping it very timely with what's going on, right now, week to week. Whether it's some of the guests that I mentioned, they're going to bring in just really incredible perspective, or heaven forbid, a hurricane or freeze or something like that. So I felt like we compelled to address it again, just because last week was such a flurry of activity, as I said. So, all right. So let's get into some of the entertainment and information. I feel like so let me just kind of throw it out there in a general sense. Dean, I'm gonna start with you because I know you've been out in the water very recently. But I was looking at the forecast. I was looking at this week's winds, and so in a span of, let's say, 72 hours this week, the wind was blowing from the west, the northwest, the northeast, the south, and the southeast in a span of 3 days. What's going on?
In a span of Saturday midnight to Monday at daylight, it went from 90 degrees, upper 80s, with a mild south wind to blowing a gale from the north, and water temperature was bumping on 70 degrees, up until Friday. Monday morning, water temperature was 56 degrees.
Oh boy.
So in a span of a very short time, it was a big time dramatic change in the water temperature, the wind direction. We had low tides, normal low tides, but after that blow, actually we had west wind. We had a northwest wind down here, which blew that water out even more, which gave us a pretty dramatic low tide on Monday.
I love when Caleb just starts looking at the camera with this bleep-eating grin on his face. He's got something, and I just can't wait to hear what it is.
Man, it was that Facebook post where I don't want to take anybody's content. Somebody named Jared said the amount of times I've checked the weather and the wind is becoming unhealthy. I had a customer from last week. He texted me. It's been probably four or 5 days ago. And I don't know if Bo's on here. I know Bo's on the Angler U crowd, but he said, "You see that weather Wednesday?" And I'm like, "I'm not even going to respond back. This isn't even worth the discussion right now." And then I thought about you, John, because apparently there's I quote, "Florida is releasing a dropping iguana alert because for some front that's
out of the trees."
Yeah, falling iguana
because of the freeze, because of the cold weather. Yeah. I've seen that actually. I've actually seen that happen. It's wild, man. It's pretty wild. You're like, holy crap, it's happening. It's the apocalypse. They're here. But of course they're all frozen or whatever they are. Just I guess they're just not as moving as much. But all right, I want to get back to you, Caleb. But Scott, how do you fish? How do you formulate a game plan? Because the water's going to be off color. In some areas, maybe not as much in others, but like I said, it's coming from the west, northwest, northeast, south, southeast just this week.
Well, Caleb and I were talking on the phone the other day, and the day it was blowing in, and I told him, I said, I've gotten 3 different phone calls from people, discussing other stuff, and they're all like, "Oh man, I thought I didn't call you earlier because I figured you'd be out on the water." I was like, "Did you look at the weather at all? Have you been outside?" Because at my house,
sustained 42.
It was sustained 42 miles an hour.
Good gracious!
And I'm like, yeah, no, I ain't no. There ain't no way.
Of course, my son's going down to Aransas Pass as we speak because he's a sicko like the rest of us, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go kayaking." All right, let's see how it plays out.
It's fine now, but it wasn't that day. Hell, the last day that I was out, I had I started the day with a northeast wind, then it went northwest, and then it went straight east. And next thing I know, it was south, southeast, and then it was southwest before the day was over. All in one day. And it was colder than hell to start off, and by the afternoon, I was sweating. You can't figure this weather out right now. It is not January. I keep looking at the calendar. It says January. Normally we'd be looking at fishing drop-offs, fishing some deeper water, doing the winter thing. The fish are just as confused as we are. I mean, I got fish up tailing, shallow water, doing their thing. Hell, I saw a big ass trout up in like 6-8 inches of water the other day, and he's just up there just hanging out, just sunning away. The thing that I saw that really threw me off was sharks. Sharks are normally on the flats around here. We'll get sharks up pretty regular all summer, and chasing stuff. The sharks were even taking advantage of the low water. The tide was way out, and they were swimming around with damn near with their eyeballs out of the water, up on the grass flats, chasing fish.
And what I was thinking, as unpredictable as, well, I guess it was predictable because it blew in pretty dramatic on that day. But with the challenges that we have coming up this week, it's still not as bad. I mean, we haven't had anything near in the 30s. It's been 40 degrees. It's been windy. The water temperature has stayed relatively warm for this time of year because it hasn't had a sustained cold period. 2 or 3 days, and then it's back to warm again. Sunshine, it's warming it up. So in the grand scheme of winter, it's not that bad. Actually, it's pretty good as far as winter conditions go. I mean, I'm not a fan of that really cold stuff. And we're going to get through this a couple days, and then, we got another warming trend coming up. This week, though, I mean, there is another front coming behind this one, and it's going to stay in the 40s to the 60s, but that still ain't too bad.
So, Caleb, what are you doing if you're out on the water? I mean, I'm guessing you got to kind of stay light on your feet, but we got people. I mentioned my son. We got people that are going to be trying to get out there.
Man, I mean, pretty much everything all these guys said. I've been stuck in the situation in tournaments up and down the coast where we get that kind of weather either pre-fishing or on day one of the tournament leading in, and it's everything they said and add. I hope we get lucky at the same time. If you're talking about a sustained one-way wind, easy answer, go find protected shorelines. But when it's swirling like that, tough to do. Here on my stretch of the coast, I have a cheat code though. If it hadn't been raining, there's Colorado River, San Bernard River, Brazos River, rivers all the way to the Pearl or something over there, deep East Texas or whatever it is. But rivers are where I'm going to go hide whenever that wind's swirling. I've found myself in that situation a lot where not the best weather, got to run a trip, got to be successful, and got to pay bills. Can't. And that I go to a river or a diversion channel, something that the wind can't get rolling on hard enough to mess it up. Preferably something bendy. Diversion channel straight. I get it. I get it. If it's just blowing across it, you're just gonna work with it. But something bendy, because if it's blowing down it, you're gonna want to bend to get around the next side. I'll get on stretches that I know are good shorelines, but we're moving so fast. I tell everybody, just hang on. We're going to go around the corner and get started again. Or the best way to prepare is see if you're like caught up on like Landman and your TV shows and stuff like that.
I heard the new season is not as good.
I think it's great. I like it better than the last one.
Yeah.
Caleb talking about the long straight shots. He and I fishing that infamous tournament down here. We went into the Victoria Barge Canal, which has the huge tall sides. And we're like, yeah, we got 40, 50 mile an hour winds. We're good down in here until a tornado came across. That was, at least it went, that thing was pretty much north-south and the tornado was going more east-west. So it was only over for just a split second.
Oh yeah. It was easy.
Wasn't terrible.
It was so windy we could still spool ourselves casting popping corks, hoping to get lucky. And we were protected. No, this season's cool. Angela and the daughter went to TCU and met all the woke counselors and stuff. This episode I just watched was fantastic.
It's been I haven't been able to catch up on very many shows with the way the Texan season is going in a good way. Been busy with my day job. So Dean, you're down in the flats. Has the water been dirty because of the swirling wind? No,
and that's
I say swirling, different direction.
I mean, that is the beauty of Redfish Bay, South Texas grass flats. Some areas are going to get churned up. The big bays, Corpus Christi Bay, Aransas Bay, those areas are going to get churned. And if the tide is pushing in through some cuts adjacent to those flats, certain portions will get dirty. But even through all of the wind that we had over the weekend, where we were walking yesterday in shin deep water, crystal clear, just like every other day, and tailing reds, sight casting. You could see midday, the sun came out, you could see them cruising, the tails came up, and I mean, so we
But a
have
tough bite.
well, so there's so many places where the seagrass is so thick that it can blow. I mean, even in the springtime, whenever we have, incessant winds for weeks, you're still going to have portions of the bay that stay crystal clear.
Mhm. But the bite was a little tough, huh?
So because of the dropping temperature, because the temperature dropped from 70 degrees to 50 to 6 degrees, the water temperature, those fish were feeding, but they were spooky. They were not easy to catch. I mean, the ones that we caught hit top waters, but you had to throw a perfect cast, lead them, and just barely tap, 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 just touch it, almost let it hover in front of their face. Once they got tuned into it, then you picked up a little aggression, and then they would come and eat it. But if you threw behind them, around them, anywhere that was not leading them, they were going to blow out of that hole, and you were not going to get a second chance at that fish.
So last thing,
But-
Scott, because this is
But
fascinating.
also, so these fish head down, buried in the grass. I mean, they were rooting hard in the bottom. And I did clean a couple redfish at the end of the day, and their bellies were full of piggy perch, little piggies, like 1-inch piggies is what they were just stuffed with.
So Scott, what I'm wondering is, the wind. Eventually, we're going to get another front behind this one. What's the water been doing? Has it been just up and down, or is it pretty, same level, or do you want that big sustained front to be able to knock stuff in the right direction?
I like low tides. It concentrates the fish. It helps. But a couple of these tides have been ridiculous. They've been so low. It's been really hard to get around and find a flat that's got enough water on it to even get up there. One of my regular guys I talked to a good bit, listener, he sent me a message, said, "Well, it looks like the water's back," and he sent me a screenshot. Tides, and they were back. We had that southeast wind pumped for a little bit right before this front, but I hadn't looked at my text for a little bit, and by the time I looked at it, that north wind had kicked in, and that tide was dropping right straight back out. I ran into Port Lavaca to pick some stuff up, and going over Powderhorn out here, you can see about 2 feet of mud along the bank. So it had dropped straight back out again. The only problem with that around here is you were talking about water clarity. Those hard drops like that will mess our water up a little bit around here. We have a good bit of mud and some channels, and that'll get to swirling when that tide falls real hard. And a couple of my grass flats that did have enough water on them were right outside of openings like that, and it was really hard to sight cast. Luckily, they were showing themselves by pushing some bait and having some tails up, and there was some decent schools moving around. And so, I was still able to get on fish, even though we couldn't spot them in crystal clear water like you really want to. That's my fly guys. That's what they really are after. They want to see that fish, see fish, catch fish.
Yeah.
But, it was more of look for the signs of the fish than it was actually seeing them. But the signs are there. We still got plenty of bait out there. We still got a lot of bait fish moving around. Water temperature hadn't got so cold that they've disappeared, and so you can still pick it off based off signs like that. And that's what the upper coast. That's what I always did up there. This time of year, water would typically clear up when that water temperature would fall into the 50s. I don't think it stayed in the 50s long enough to clear it up. I'm obviously not up there anymore, but just in the past, what I've seen, when we had a warmer winter, you kept a lot of that. Everybody calls Galveston water dirty. It's not dirty. It's just rich. It's got a lot of plankton in it, a lot of algae. Dean's shaking his head,
He's shaking his head.
Dean looks like the dog walked by and farted or something. But, he hated fishing that damn mud hole. But when the water was off color like that, you did a lot more searching for clues. The mullet were up there along the edge and in the bank, and they're just kind of cruising around. All of a sudden, you'd see them tighten up, and they'd get right up against the bank and get real tight. There was redfish nearby. So you're looking more for the subtle signs than you are actually seeing a whole fish.
We got a lot more to cover, but I'm just curious, Caleb, has the bite been finicky like that? I say finicky, but tougher. Are the fish just full? I mean, are they just gorging where you are?
It for the most part, yeah, because we have these little frontal passages that have been messing with them, and then we're on the back side of the big moon and all those sort of things. We have gotten the clear water up here after those fronts when the water's cold. And so, I mean, we've been able to tickle them on the nose and get them to eat, but they haven't been going out there. They're out of their way just to scarf something down by any means.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Put it right on their nose. That's the only way you're going to be able to find it. All right, so Scott, I'm going to start with you and then get to Dean on this because you mentioned powderhorn, and that's a good transition to something we were going to try to get to earlier, but let's get to it right now. You know, a lot of times you're out and about, and it's something that only happens once a year, and you want to see those whooping cranes. And it seems like it's going to get a lot easier for all of us to check them out. Last year I went over to the Aransas Pass Refuge and I saw just a couple. It was tough to find them. I'm curious what Dean has seen, what you've seen, but here's the news that I want to make sure we get to. Apparently a couple of conservation groups just purchased more than 3,000 acres of land. It says 30 minutes south of Victoria between Powderhorn, which you mentioned, and San Antonio Bay. And obviously we all know, for those who don't, the whooping cranes migrate 2,500 miles from Canada every year, and they're here now. I don't know how long they're going to be here, but you know a lot about this, Scott. What have you seen? Have you seen any?
I see them every day. I mean,
really?
Yeah, I could probably drive out to the backside of my property right now and see 3 pair. They come into my deer feeders all the time. And between my ranch and the ranch I take care of, I got 6 feeders going. And each feeder will have at least 1 pair on it every morning, every afternoon. It's really pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Their numbers were down in, around 12 to 16 at one point. And they're pushing up there in, I think, the mid 600s now. So there's quite a few more. I got to know Wade Harrell. He's a regular listener, and he's moved on now. He's with another part, but he's with the federal wildlife and biologist. And they were tracking the whooping cranes. They used GPS on them, and they were hanging out on my place so much that he got in touch with me. And said, "What's going on over there?" And I told him about, I got the feeder. And so we've stayed in touch all along. He's come out here and looked, and it's really cool to have those kind of critters hanging out on your property.
They're like 5 feet tall.
Shoot, they're taller than that. Those things are every bit of 6 foot tall, 6 foot wingspan. And when you see one flying over, there's no doubt. You don't go, "Hey, I don't know what that is."
Yeah,
it's pretty easy to spot them.
And for wide open public viewing, there's a place where if you go into the road that leads into Goose Island State Park, and you go down to like the first stop sign, it's called Bodark is the street, and you take a left and it goes to the shoreline of St. Charles Bay. That shoreline down there has it is private property, but where they have some feeders and some other stuff. And almost every day the road is lined with people with their cameras and such. And you can, for free public viewing, you can drive down there along the shoreline of St. Charles Bay and see them almost every day.
That's what I was gonna try to get to our list. I know a lot of our listeners, male and female, just like to go see them. Dean, I'm something of a semi-professional bird nerd myself, and I tried to go see him last year, and I only saw 2. But I wrote down Bodark, huh?
Semi-professional sounds a lot better than what you actually are.
One of the things that Wade told me, I think it was last year, they do flyover surveys, and count the birds when they get down here and all that. And the peninsula over there where Dean's talking about is on, the Aransas Wildlife Refuge in that peninsula. That was their home. I mean, that was where those 16 or so, that's where they went in the winter, and they protected that with the wildlife refuge. And last year was the first year they did a flyover where our peninsula over here, the Seadrift Fort O'Connor Peninsula, had more birds on it than the Aransas Wildlife Refuge.
Hmm.
So they're expanding out.
And now they got 3,000 acres protected.
Yeah, that's why this new protection over here is even better. Right off my back fence, I've got the Welder Ranch. It's 14,000 acres,
Mm-hmm.
and they spend a lot of time in there as well. That 3,000, one of it was 2,200 acres, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and that is on the intercoastal between Port O'Connor and the next big ranch that's just down from there. So it's basically where 1289 comes into 185. And so it'll be along that stretch. You can run up and down the intercoastal in your boat over here, and you can see dozens of them. I mean, they're walking around all up and down the intercoastal.
Maybe that's what I'll do this weekend if the fishing's bad, because I'm gonna have my granddaughter with me and Jan. How far north do they go, Caleb? Have you seen any? They don't go as far north.
What, the whooping cranes?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just more fascinated with Mr. Young saying you can't hunt them over bait.
Yeah. Hey, the whoopings cranes are working.
I've been deep in thought on that one. I don't know that I've ever seen it. I feel like I may have seen some flying around up in the sky once. I'm terrible about birds. I'm a semi-professional. Don't care about birds.
Dean, have you seen any this year?
As they go is the around the Powderhorn Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
They get up in that area. There is one little pocket of them over in Sabine that they transferred over there basically. And try to get a second population started up. I don't know how well that's going.
Yeah. Dean, you seen many?
Well, no. On rare occasions, they will be seen on St. Joe Island and some of the more uninhabited places. They really don't tolerate a lot of human activity.
Yeah, I picked up on that.
You won't see them. I mean, they kind of keep to themselves. But yes, on occasions, I will get reports and you'll see pictures of people who spotted them along Cedar Bayou and a little bit south of there on St. Joe Island shorelines.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to fishing here, man. We got some good topics for you guys today. And this is one that I have my thoughts, but I don't have a lot of confidence in my thoughts on this. So I'm going to start with Caleb. Got the question about actually, I don't have the question. I just wrote down the topic, why sometimes the bite is aggressive and sometimes it's not. A listener said he caught the same fish, Caleb. He caught fish in the same spot a few days apart. And the first day he was catching them, it was one of those little, tick, tick, and you got to try to set the hook. And the second time it was whoop, big time bite. And I didn't have a good answer for him. The only thing I told him that, and this is my theory, is that I feel, and tell me I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong, but I feel that when there are 4 tides in a day, they're a little more aggressive. The tides are more aggressive, and hence the bite tends to be a little bit more aggressive. But that's just me. What are your thoughts on why sometimes, you're on the boat and you're like, hey guys, it's kind of a finicky bite. It's a light bite or whatever. And sometimes it's like, don't even worry about it. Just get it out there.
I just think he did a better job fishing the second time.
How
is there any
so?
other? No, you're backwards on the tides. The 4 tide days are typically kind of weak in and out. It might be different in Rockport, but up here the 4 tides are real weak in and out. Where the 2 tides is going to be the longer, all day, consistent, a little bit more movement. But yeah, no, where you're headed, I agree with. It's just a different set of circumstances. Some days you got to tickle the redfish on the nose, the piece of plastic. Some days throw a topwater within 20 feet of him. Something's going on where they felt better tide, better moon. One time was during a major, one time wasn't.
Not a baby.
I'm working on it. Barometer wasn't screwing him.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna give one, I'm gonna get one.
Get all in. Go.
But then it could have just been a different wad of fish. Could have been a different class of fish. I'd be interested to know if he saw a different, overall size to them, and it could have been the smaller ones that were hitting harder. But it just could have been a whole different group of fish. But stimulus is going to play into that. Where I love to fish down in Corpus, I can go there on Saturday and they all run from me like I'm beating on a drum. And then Sunday they're chewing on my propeller. It's fish are weird, man. I don't even know why we screw with them. We have picked two things to chase in this life: fish and women, and both
Yeah.
of them was a terrible idea.
It's a horrible idea to do.
I
Dean,
reminded of when
go
I
ahead.
used to be doing the sales rep thing. I'd go down there and hang out with Dean, when I was running the Corpus area and going to see all my dealers. And Dean and I'd get up in the morning, get out there, and it'd be slow. Dean just paddle over to me. We're in the kayaks. And he'd paddle and said, "I don't even like fishing."
Still don't.
Depends on the
Yeah.
day.
The call, Scott said the call he gets is figure if you out there. The call I get is, "Hey, when you don't have a trip booked, let me know. We'll go." I'm like, yeah, that's gonna work out. Meet me in the parking lot.
Yeah, I'll be there at 6.
So I mean,
go
and I
ahead.
would like to know more details on the conditions from that big bite day and no bite day,
Yeah.
because last weeks leading up to this cold front before Saturday, and typically at this time of year in Redfish Bay, you fish those drop-offs on those low tides. I mean, it's some really good speckled trout fishing. A lot of little ones mixed in, but there's chance to get into some, days where you find a little grass bed that's isolated off one of those drop-offs that you can just sit there and work them over. So the warmer water, like last week, we had days where you just hit that sweet spot. Man, you could put the pole down, or if you were wading, you just stand there and work them over. Monday, which we hit the flats for the reds plus the edges of the drop-offs. The fish in the deeper water, the edges of the drop-offs, they would touch that tail. You could feel them pick it up, and they just would not get the hook.
Yeah.
There were so many that, they would even pick it up to where your line was swimming. They got it in their mouth. And as soon as you put tension on it, boom, it just comes out. So,
Yeah.
and then the ones that did get hooked were barely hooked in the lip or the edge. They just were not woofing that thing. But, I blamed all of that on the drop in temperature in such a short time.
Yeah, could that be part of it too, Scott? There's a number of it seems like lately, and really for about the last 6 months, down in Aransas where I fish, it's been a very light bite. You got to really be ready and hit it. But every once in a while, you get that big whomp. Anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, we got to have our excuses.
Yeah,
It
I
could
got
be
'em.
Hey,
It could be something as simple as the second when they were hitting harder, there was an outgoing tide pulling warmer water out of a marsh and just warming that drain up and getting them going. It could be something that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Scott?
we need to know more about these things. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
Maybe
I'm guessing
he
just,
listens, so maybe he'll follow up.
I'm guessing just for the fact that he went back 2 or 3 days apart and caught fish both times, it has to be like a Galveston area thing.
I think it was actually.
That crap don't happen to me down here.
Mhm.
But it could have just been a tide moving warmer water. It was something little that made them feel better and made them hungrier.
I've been in a place and then circle back around, and we're catching plenty of fish, circle back around and not catch a single fish, not get a single bite. From the polling platform, I get to watch these fish eat a lot, and redfish are weird, man. From the top up there, Caleb sees it from his vantage point as well. There are days when the lure splashes and you see them literally turn their heads.
Yeah.
And they'll dart right straight to that spot and start looking for whatever's just splashed. There's other days you throw it over there and they could not care less that it's there. You can swim it in front of their face and there's zero attraction to it. And I'll get guys a lot of times when that starts happening, they're constantly changing baits.
Yeah. That ain't gonna make a big difference.
I see that.
We've all tried that.
When I see that happening, I know damn good and well those fish are they've gone neutrals.
Yeah.
The term that I use. You can sometimes get them to eat that's why part of why I like fly fishing. You can hover a fly in front of a redfish and eventually he's going to eat it most of the time. But it's
I tell the guys if we had a shotgun, we'd get every one of them on those days. Another thing in that 3-day span that could have changed, one of those scenarios is if you're like one of my, I don't know if you want to call it superstitions, the days that I just feel bad about is 2 to 3 days behind the full moon.
Mhm.
Right behind the full moon, when that third quarter is right up there over your head at about 8 or 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if it's just me or if it's across the board, but those are always tough. But you take that day, 2 to 3 days behind the full moon, and then you add 3 to 4 days to that,
Yeah.
and you get what is 3
Not a
plus
full moon.
what is 3 plus 5?
Is it the
That's
new? Is
8.
it the new moon? I guess.
So you get
No,
8
you'd be going into the half moon.
Oh yeah,
and then yes, so you're getting past the third quarter.
See, I would
Then
argue that you're the
starts
backside of the
to
half dean moving to the full, because then you're moving from the 4 tides to the 2 tides. You got all kinds of
Exactly.
stuff playing.
Yes,
in.
that's
That's
so
a
the
good theory.
tides are going to shift. The moon in those 3 to 4 days,
huge.
2 to 3 days after the full moon, which makes
Mhm.
7 to 8. It's some tricky math today.
We didn't.
He
Nobody
has
told me
confused
about math.
himself.
I wasn't told about math.
So, but yes, so in that range, I always find that the bite really changes behind that full moon once you start to get away from it.
Scott, any parting thoughts on that?
I'm still trying to process what the hell that was.
You can rewind this later and listen to it again.
I mean, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well documented. I ain't a fan of the full moon and those 2 or 3 days after. I've talked on that many
Yeah.
times. I don't find it as much with the redfish because you do have the good moving water, and this time of year particularly,
Mhm.
it's more about the temperature and the moving water and those factors than it is the moon for me.
Mhm.
I don't see it as drastic. I think the fish this time of year, they're going to feed when they can,
Mhm.
more so than the summertime fish when they've got all the food around there. And,
Yeah.
today we don't feel like it, but it's a huge deal on the tarpon on the beachfront. The full moon and the few 2 or 3 days after the full moon, I dread it.
Mhm.
I hate when I have a trip booked that I'm going to have to deal with that because the tarpon do get stupid during that period.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the next one here. I want to talk about you guys' integrity. No, I'm just kidding. But maybe integrity comes into play. So or lack thereof. Oh no, nobody told me about this either. I'd have to talk about my own integrity. So I was
This
asking
wasn't on the syllabus, John.
that's right. So I was asked at dinner the other day, with BG, just having fun, always ended up talking about fishing like we do here. And he told me, he goes, how would you handle it if we both caught a big ass trout? All right. Both hooked up simultaneously and our lines crossed. And before we could even, figure it all out. And I told him, I said, I trust our gear enough that we could unwrap them and get it done and all that, play it out correctly. But no.
No,
Go
it's
on.
not how you would handle it all.
But
Go on.
go on.
Keep reading.
No, go on that one. Go on that one. Actually, that's the first one. So it got me thinking about different scenarios, and I want to hear some stories too because I know you guys got them. All right, Caleb, you said So 2 big fish simultaneously, lines cross. What do you do?
Me and Pat have done that before, and it was Pat and somebody both caught one on the same lure, and I just a little bit of yelling at each other, and hell, one of the times I don't even think me and Pat realized it happened. But my personal best ran between Kevin Cochran's legs, and there was a lot of words that I can't say anymore because radio ruins everything.
Yes.
But those words were all said, and they all had 6, 8, 10 syllables on them. And I'm yelling at him. He ran between your legs, and he's hopping around one leg, asking me what exactly I want him to do about it. By the time I got that thing landed, I was about ready to throw up. It depends on the level of big. You catch a couple 25-inch trout.
No, he said big ass trout is what he said.
big ass trout. Yeah, no, that's just sheer panic. You can't. That's like saying if I'm in the bank and somebody comes in to rob it, I'm going to do this and dive behind that desk and grab the gun out of the drawer and hit the button. You don't know what you're going to do till it happens.
You freak
And
out.
You freak out. We've never handled it good once.
Here's the funny thing. I've caught a bunch. I've gone fishing a lot with Dean. I know what Dean would do. He'd cut my line.
Look,
oh man, too bad you lost it.
The one thing that's never gonna happen is nobody's gonna remain calm. It's funny that you said, "Oh, we would have enough, sense we would untangle that." No, you wouldn't. I mean, no one is ever going to and go, "Hey, let's look and see which way this line is twisted and turn them the other way." And I guarantee you, when you turn them, you got a 50-50 chance, and the first one's going to be the wrong way. Yes. You just put 2 twists on it. But I mean, yeah, it's part of the fun. Somebody might catch a fish. Somebody might lose their fish. Somebody might lose both their fish.
I know who would lose their fish on our boat.
Look at the amount of sheer panic that happens when a good fisherman looks at a trolling motor or a power pole. All he has to do is look towards it, and everybody in the boat loses their mind.
Yeah, right.
I had a guy the other day. They did that. They crossed lines on 2 redfish. They ended up with, I think, 1 redfish being hand lined. I had a broken rod. The other line ended up getting cut off. It was a complete train wreck, and this is just 2 redfish off the boat. This ain't no big trout. Nah.
Scott?
I was just about to say the same. I had 2 redfish on the other day. We'd had a slow morning, nothing much happening, and doubled up on a school, and both of them were big, and they started crossing each other, and the guys were, "Oh yeah, we got this," and they started trying to hand their rods over and under each other. They went the wrong way. They tangled it up more. Then one fish decided it wanted to go under the boat. One fish wanted to go out from the boat. We landed both fish, and I have no idea why. Only because it's redfish, and it wasn't a 8-pound trout. If it had been a big trout, we wouldn't have caught either one of them. But being redfish, they're tougher, and the hooks stay in better. And with braid, it's a whole different ball game. We can kind of deal with that somewhat. It's not as difficult as it used to be, but I don't see it happening for you. I don't see Calm John taking care of that problem.
I would just say, all right,
that
conversation flying.
That conversation could top a Nick Shirley talking to a Somali teacher. It would be better than that.
I mean, I have confidence in myself and my gear. Shout out to Seagar. We would need you. We would need you big time.
We have confidence in your gear. We have confidence in your line. It's the other part.
It's me.
Between the ears that we got to worry about.
I just thought it was so funny that he starts off going to sell us this. Oh yes. Well, we would just untangle it, and we would calmly and calculated undo this situation.
Again, I'm not on your boat.
For those that are listening that can't see us, I wish they could have seen all that, because
John is a nervous
shaking their heads at the same time.
Like going, nope. It wouldn't happen.
He wears shoes with the Velcro on them because they tangles up his shoelaces.
John spent the last 2 days trying to convince, last 2 days trying to convince Houston that the Texans have an offense. So he is good at laying on the crap right now.
That's gone. That part is gone.
I tell you what, if you looked at that game yesterday or this morning, I guess, you went, man, Texans blew them out. But if you watched it, you sure didn't feel that way.
No, you did not. No, you did not. I'm not going to get to all these because some of these are maybe a little more serious, and this is more obviously story time here from the fellas. But now I know I would freak out on this one. So you hook a fish, and you hook the big fish, and your reel breaks. It just starts spinning, and we've all done that. And I can tell you, I have not been quite as calm when that's happened. So Caleb, you're nodding your head. What do you do?
Caleb breaks rods,
rods, reels. Why do you think I went to Caleb first?
I can hand line a fish with the best of them. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Just drop it and hand line them. But me and Cole Young found ourselves in a situation triple tailing where this one wasn't one you wrapped around your hand and pulled on him. And I was testing a prototype spinning reel and I broke the handle off of it, which believe me, it's been addressed because we had to talk about it. Because this triple tail ripped about 40 or 50 yards off of us. And then we had to grab the bell and twist it by hand.
Oh,
until
Lord.
Until we got that triple tail in. And you talk about take a while.
Mhm.
But that's what, I mean, that's what you're doing. Or you could go to land and walk really far up on it.
Mhm.
That'd get that fish up there. That's your two choices.
Scott?
Get your buddy to catch one and go over your line and have him reel them in.
See?
There you go.
Trust your gear.
Because in that situation, I'd be calm and collected and be like, "Hey, Scott, I'm gonna need you to cast over here and catch one so that you can get my line and bring them both in." And he'd be like,
Or
"You
just
know, after
tie a
all my
knot.
years experience, that's right. That's what we're gonna do. That's how we would handle that."
Literally all of us have done this, including our listeners. Scott, what do you do?
Well, mine was a young man who had never fly fished other than in freshwater, and he gets out there. Dad bought him a fly rod for his birthday. He gets there, and we're setting it all up and get him out there on the reds. And he missed and missed and missed and missed, and he finally big one's cruising along there, and he hooks up. It's a 31, 32-inch fish. Hooks it up. It runs. The rod comes apart. You know, 4-piece fly rod comes apart in the middle, and that part's headed down the line. Fish runs out, runs around a fence post. This was in Galveston, the back of Greens. Runs around an old fence post, gets turned around, starts coming back towards the boat, and then his reel falls off of his rod and starts dancing, doing the jig, dancing around in the bottom of the boat.
Yeah, it's just like you're spooling.
Oh yeah, when the line is coming off of it, it's bouncing all over the place. His dad never fished at all, but he was sitting there on the cooler. Well, he starts diving around trying to catch the reel. I'm keeping an eye on where the fish went and where the rod tip is, which is now slid all the way down on a brand new rod, all the way down to that post, and is wrapping itself around the post. I jumped down off of there. I got his reel. We got the reel back on the rod, and then I jumped back up and I pulled all the way down to that pole, grabbed the tip end, got the tip put back on, and we landed that damn fish.
Dean,
yeah, things happen out on the water, man. You just got to.
Yeah, I know you've had people, or maybe yourself, reel breaks.
Never broke a reel, but what I have seen happen more than once, and we've never talked about this, kind of, and interesting to see if the listeners out there or any of you guys have ever seen. So on a spinning rod, if you don't, when you mount the reel on the rod, if you don't really turn the little nut on there to lock it down, like with pliers or something, to really torque it up, when people are standing there, when they're twitching it, like throwing a topwater for hours, they have a tendency to unscrew that it'll turn backwards. Many times I have found those loose. And I have also had people, when they get that big fish hooked up and they're standing there fighting it, boom, reel comes off the rod. And that has happened over the years, probably 4 or 5 times I have seen that happen. And that's another little moment of chaos when it's hard to remain calm, cool, and collected when the reel is, they're holding the reel over here and the rod over here. And it's like, this thing fell apart. But that's, I've never actually broke one, but I have seen the tip end of the rod come off and slide down the line. And then you're fighting the fish on half of the rod.
Yeah, I had that a lot. When you were talking about the reel coming off, I distinctly remember this guy. The reel came off like that while he's fighting a good fish, and he had the rod in one hand, the reel in the other hand, holding it by the handle. Fish is still running. So he takes the rod and he put the rod between his legs and squeezed it, and then held the reel seat in his right hand as if it still had a rod.
And was reeling?
And was reeling with the other hand. He did a really good job. Couldn't put any pressure on the fish with the rod stuck between his legs, but he landed it.
These are repressed memories I didn't know I had. I recall putting them back on while they were like holding the fish. I'm like getting the rod there, and yeah, no, I forgot about that. That's a good point Dean brings up.
Yeah. And ever since then, I've made a point to put some pliers on that thing
Mm-hmm.
and torque it on there, and don't rely on hand tight
Yeah.
to keep it there.
We'll get to some more of these. I know, we got to help people with what they may want to do this weekend with what would Scott do, what would Dean do, and what would Caleb do. But this one didn't happen. It's probably been close to 2 years now, but it doesn't feel like too long ago. I was actually, it was one of my early trips when we moved down to Aransas Pass. So it was definitely within the last 3 years. And I was drifting, forget exactly where. This is a very specific question because this is exactly what happened to me, and I know it happens to a lot of people. I was drifting, got into some good fish. I put the power pole down and just started casting and catching fish. So I was all excited. I think I had I had a buddy on there with me, and so we were catching fish. And I found out later that this was a guide. So maybe you even know who it is, Dean, but I would have to describe his boat. Comes up real slow, respectfully, slowly, and just kind of yells over to my boat, "Mind if we slide in? Mind if we slide in?" And I hadn't been there very long. I didn't want to be a jerk and all that. And I was like, you can get behind us, something like that. I think that's what I said. The mind if I slide in. How do you handle that? What are your experiences and stories?
Well,
I'm going to start with Dean because it's
Easy,
good.
bud. Easy.
This is a layup. This is
In reverse, Terry.
Here
we go.
In my younger days, it would have been a short conversation. I've mellowed a lot as time has gone on with those confrontational opportunities on the water. I have learned to move on, but I'm not going to be like inviting. I'm not going to be the dude that's like, "Hey, yeah, come on in here." And if I've been there a while, and I was like about time to wrap it up, I'm gonna be like, "Sure, come on in," and I'm gonna crank it up. I'm gonna do like 3 circles, and it's like, it's all yours, brother.
Have at it.
Yeah. Now, once upon a time, I would have done that, but I seriously refrain from that type of activity anymore. Things were really quite different 25 years ago. Whenever you were discourteous to somebody else, especially the local guys, there were repercussions. I mean, there were consequences.
Boat ramp. Meet you at the boat ramp.
There was flat tires and stuff like that when you got to the trailer. But nowadays it's best to go on with your life. And back then, it wasn't all congested. Nowadays you have so many more interactions.
It's probably happening more now.
Yes. Just because there's more people, more boats, there's more everything. So you do get more questionable interactions on the water. And I mean, you just got to shake your head and go on with your life. The trick to solving that is you have more than one place on your mind to fish.
Yeah,
because
we were on
people
them, man.
do that, they are focused on this spot. I mean, I have people that travel down, they come and they don't believe in branching out of the daily routine, and they want to be, and if they feel like if they can't be on that spot, their day is ruined. So they will kind of get a little pushy at times.
The thing, the thing about Caleb and Dean and Scott, people know you're a guy. They know you're a boat. Have you had any experiences like that, Caleb?
Yep.
Go on. Go on.
I've received that line via text message.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not. Hey, I'm just more impressed that Dean kept that to fishing, man. Way to go, Dean. You really turning over a new leaf. I like where you're going there.
Yeah.
I don't care that much as long as they're not coming on top of me and they come in the right way. It's whatever. It's not what you do. It's how you speak it. Isn't that how the saying goes?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if I'm working a pond or something and somebody else comes in there real quiet, and I'm fine with it. I've I've been standing in a drain actively catching fish, and a boat pulled up about, I don't know, 200 yards downwind, and I thought, oh, they're going that other cove over there, cool. And I'm sitting here fishing, and the particular gut I'm in, it's only like a 2-inch, 3-inch drop maybe, but if you stand in it, you just screw it all up. And it's like 5-pounder after 5-pounder after 5-pounder. It's not quite satisfying, but I figure it's better than the other alternative. And this dude just like walks up, comes down the drain. He's standing in the middle of it. And he's probably about 30 or 40 yards from me. He's casting down and I'm casting across it. And we're almost touching tips.
Yeah.
And the bite shuts off. And
Say that again.
I'm getting in there what Dean didn't. And after about 10 minutes, I was like, I told him, I said, hey, if we're gonna fish beside each other, why don't you come stand over here by me? The fishing will get better. And he did. And about 10 minutes later, we're both catching fish. So whatever, you know. I care. Me and Dean aged differently. I cared a heck of a lot more when I was 35, 45, or 44, or 46, or whatever I am at the moment. There's things that just ain't worth screwing your own day up over, and go on with it.
I feel Scott would be a little more understanding. Am I wrong? Right?
I just move. I move on, go do something else. When people move in too close on me, it happens to me a lot. People see a pole and skiff, and they they think they can pole right in there with you. I get it quite a bit.
Talk about touching tips, Dean. Pole guys,
big old pole.
Yeah,
the fly guys.
Them fly guys.
Different breed.
I'm just surprised that Dean, when he was mentioning the cut tires and stuff, he didn't mention that sometimes an old dead mullet will get zip tied to the bottom of your truck.
Oh no, that was a redfish head.
It was a redfish head.
A big redfish head. Story for another.
We got to hear it now.
Well, this dude, and it wasn't because he moved. Well, he kind of did move in on my spot. He was hacking my website. Dude was taking. So you have keywords when people search that lead you to your website. Yeah. And so on his keywords, he had Captain Dean Thomas. He had Slow Ride Guide Services. He had everything that I was doing on his embedded in his website. Had some friends who were pretty computer savvy. And as they were looking at fishing websites, they come and told me, they were like, man, look at what this dude is doing. He's like, he's using all of your words to direct traffic to his website. Ooh. And I was like, I knew who he was and where he parked and where he hung out. So I took, this was premeditated, like big time. One day I took a big old redfish head and I actually stowed it in the freezer. I stuck some zippy ties through the eyeballs before I froze it. And a buddy of mine, I had a lookout. We went down there. I crawled under his truck and I went up in between the gas. I shoved that head up in as far inside of the bottom of that truck as I could get to, and zippy tied that frozen head. And so by the time, yes, that truck is still rotten.
I just wrote down sweet revenge, because that is going to be another topic that we're going to get to.
Hey, it was a less than violent approach to making my point.
Yeah, you're evolving. You're evolving as a person.
I actually thought that was one of my more creative ideas.
It was. It was.
All right. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
All right, let's help people catch fish. We're going to start, and I know, a lot of the weather is kind of the same up and down the coast, but, let me start with Scott, just where you are, what you're doing this week and weekend, man. What would you recommend?
Well, it's looking okay. I mean, it's nothing terrible.
Okay is the right word. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I got to drop everything and go fish. But, if you're ready to go fish, it's not bad. Temperatures in the 50s at night, 60s in the morning throughout the day. Water temperature around here, it dropped in like mid 50s yesterday, but it's already back up almost to 70 today.
When the sun's out, it gets warm.
It was like 67. Now it's clouded up again, but so it's not going to not going to reach quite as high, but I think it hit a high like 67, 68 yesterday. So
Yeah.
anything you want to do out on the flats, wind's not going to be terrible. It's kind of changing directions, so watch that. You know, as far as where you want to set up for your drifts and wades. But yeah, I mean, fish are on the flats. If the flats got enough water on them, fish are going to get up there. I would say normally this time of year, you're looking for that one mullet to flip or that one little bait to move. Right now, there's so much bait out there. You can kind of, it's not that hard to find it.
Yeah.
The fish seem like they're scattered out to me. They're not as, I'm used to this time of year, them kind of schooling up tight. When that water drops out, then they get real tight together and they stay together when it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem to be happening so much this year. I don't know if it's because the water's warmer, more bait out there. I don't know. Like Dean likes to say, till we can get a little fish on here and put some headphones on it and a microphone, we ain't gonna know for sure. But it's different this year. I can tell you that much.
Caleb, what are the fish doing in Matagorda, East Matagorda? Because it has all the markings for me anyway. I'm gonna be going out in the afternoons. The afternoons seem to be pretty good.
Yeah, this time of year, afternoons can be great. You know, instead of trying to guess what the fish are doing, let's do a little bit of critical thinking that might help some folks. The tides are out like crazy, so if you want to wade, the deep spots are they're going to be. If we always say go learn it by doing it, well, now's a great time to do it because the deep spots are going to be very apparent in those coves. You use them in the summer for the depressions, but with the tides out like that, the fish are up there. They're going to want to be in the deeper stuff most of the time. And then the other thing I was looking at is we've got a wind most of this week that's going to hold the water out. It's not going to stop the incoming tide altogether, but it's not going to promote it either. But starting Saturday morning, we start getting the east, some northeast, then east, then a little bit of southeast wind in there. And then pairing with the moon phase, we're in the new moon. If you like fishing an incoming tide, you're going to get that big, assuming the incoming tides during the day. That stuff I didn't get a chance to look at. I'm just picking up off what I was looking at right now. But the incoming tide should be a rather strong one just because the winds are going to be promoting that tide and you're going to have the bigger moon and the tides are dumped down low. So, you know, around Matagorda, what that means to me is I'm fishing along the intercoastal where it's coming up over reefs or through cuts and all that kind of stuff. And that trend kind of goes all the way up to Galveston. So that's just the pick 'em aparts. I mean, I like to fish deeper this time of year. Pat likes to go stand and throw in guts and drains. So I think either one of them would be fine.
That's good stuff. Now, Dean, put on your critical thinking hat and down south, you know, the tides and what you're seeing, what you would recommend.
I'm gonna recommend what Caleb said.
That's right.
He really did. He covered it well.
Yeah.
One interesting thing that I have seen as we've been walking along the edges of those drop-offs is we have had never-ending rivers of mullet streaming along the edges of those drop. So yes, that's another one that you really wouldn't expect to see this time of year, but we have just had, and they're not jumping, they're not obvious, you know, they're semi-lethargic, they're on the move, but they're not jumping, they're not giving away a lot of signs. But when you catch the sun just right, walking along those edges, I mean, there has just been a never-ending river of mullet along the edges of those drop-offs.
One of the things I've seen too with those big schools of mullet, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4 redfish just kind of tagging along with them. Not real big reds, but you know, slot fish. Yeah, and they're hanging towards the back of those schools and underneath them. They have no intention of eating them. I mean, those are 12, 14, 15-inch mullet. Yeah, I think the mullet are kicking up bait off the bottom, and those reds are just kind of cruising along with them. It's something you see quite a bit, but right now it's very evident. Yeah, I went through a stretch the other day where I didn't see a fish for a long time. Ran up on one of those big schools of mullet, and there was redfish all underneath them.
Great stuff, fellas. Great stuff. And that's why I always say, be sure to book these guys. You can reach them all via the Facebook group page. You're going to have a time.
And one thing I would like to add before we wrap today. Yeah. People who are not fishing at this time of the year are missing an opportunity. It is, Yesterday, I didn't even see a boat on the horizon for the duration of the
Caleb
day.
is just dying right now.
I haven't been seeing boats,
And
but
here-
yeah.
and I had this conversation yesterday because I was telling somebody, I was like, from June, July, or May, June, and July, we go 90 days in a row. People are on vacation. They're just summertime fishing. It is congested. It's hot. It is not the easiest fishing of the year. And you're booked every single day.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Comes with the program. Here it is. 80 degrees, January, beautiful low tides, conditions, and there is not a soul out there. The calendar is wide open.
So book them.
Call.
Book my guys.
I mean,
Dean, Caleb, Scott.
It's time to get a sick day
Yeah.
and go fishing. And it's just amazing how empty the boat ramp, the flats. I mean, even so, you hit a spot, man, they ain't biting. You go to plan B. Nobody's been there. C, nobody's been there. Nobody has been. And even that, like later in the morning, you're heading somewhere and it's like, man, I'm going to pull up. I know I'm going to see 2 or 3 boats. Pull up to one of my favorite spots. Nobody. So, I mean, it is the best time to enjoy that kind of behavior.
I hope you just inspired A, B, and D. I really do.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So that's why I say book them. You'll have a great time, catch some fish, and the stories are endless. And we're going to continue the stories. But right now, you guys have a great time. You can reach them on the group page on Facebook. You guys have a great week, great weekend. Catch them up. We'll talk to you next time.
Realistically, if a dude slid up behind me and asked if he could slide it in, he'd probably get the same response my wife gives me when I ask that question.